Salutations, gentle viewers. This is George from Ireland, and this video is about illegal immigration in the United States and Trump's sudden change of heart. Well, the Trump administration was pursuing a highly tendentious policy until yesterday of separating children from their parents who were illegal immigrants into the United States. The Trump White House claimed that this was a law, which was yet another falsehood from the White Lie House. It was a policy, not a law. It was introduced on a whim by Trump. And then he started saying this whole thing was up to Congress, which is yet another fallacy. He often passes the buck. President Harry S. Truman said the buck stops here. The president has to take ultimate responsibility. But Trump shows a total failure of leadership in repeatedly refusing to take responsibility. Fails as an adult, doesn't take responsibility for his own actions. Because he acts like there is no past, only looking to the future, which is why he lies so shamelessly. A bit like sanctions over Iran, wanting Congress to introduce the sanctions, not exercising its presidential authority, or the governmental shutdown, blaming the other side. Now, I know it's Congress as the power of the purse. So what happens now? Trump says the policy's been ended. So the children are going to be released from detention, but they're going to wander free, or what? Their parents may have friends or relatives in the United States who might be willing to foster them, or other charities, church groups, and so on. Children cannot be incarcerated with their parents. Now, these children will be brought across the border illegally. There are obviously called juvenile detention centres for minors who've been charged with crimes, but only down to a certain age. We can't hold some of them responsible when they're very young. They're forced to do this by their parents. Some of these children are babes in arms. I really mean infants. So what are we going to do? There might not be enough people to take in these children of illegal immigrants. The parents could be released to care for their children. They could be bailed, but then someone has to put up bail for them, unless the bail is going to be ridiculously low, like $1. But these people often paid their life savings to coyotes, these smuggler gangs, to get them across the border. So they're penniless. They've got no assets. They're people of straw. How are we going to get bail from impecunious people? Other people might be willing to post bail for them. The trouble is, if these illegal immigrants, once they are bailed, they may well disappear. That was the whole purpose of crossing the border unlawfully, was to get into the United States and to work in the black economy, to earn money, because however difficult and precarious that is, that's better than being in their homeland, where many of them were living in abject poverty. Otherwise, why would you do it? Those who are doing well in other countries are not going to risk it all. You could put the parents and children in a detention centre together. That's what happens in other countries. But why did Trump have this change of heart? Well, he's very fickle, and he's so capricious he may yet change his mind back again. There really is no telling with him. Well, former First Lady Laura Bush, she denounced what he was doing as a grossly uncharitable, church leader saying it was unchristian. And obviously Trump doesn't believe in Christianity or anything. Doesn't know the first thing about it, saying 2 Corinthians rather than the second letter of St. Paul to the Corinthians. His daughter Ivanka, she railed against it. First Lady Melania, she also spoke out against it. So I suppose he's pressured by his family. One thing is for sure, though, Trump did not do this out of decency, since he has not a shred of common decency. He is not humane in the least. He is a man who boasted that he would bring in far worse than the waterboarding, that he would deliberately kill civilians. Not collateral damage, he would on purpose target civilians. That is a textbook example of state terrorism. What makes him any better than the worst human rights abuser if he would do that? He bragged about that on his campaign. People voted for him knowing that. Now, he hasn't done it so far as I know, which is yet dishonesty yet again, but it tells you exactly what sort of person you're dealing with. Someone with no shame, no humanity, no morals whatsoever. Now, he could have doubled down on his policy because it's tough. He obviously must feel totally inadequate. Well, at least he's right about one thing. Why else is he compelled to constantly harp on about how tough he is? He's obviously extremely feeble, extremely unsure of himself, which is why he indulges in these overcompensatory statements and actions. He is the ultimate flip-flopper, changing policy very frequently and back again. Remember, the Grand Old Party derided John Kerry in 2004 for being a flip-flopper over Iraq, whereas Trump has flip-flopped over Iraq, over Syria, over Afghanistan, over the border wall, over child detentions, over any number of things, over the Iran deal, over meeting Kim Jong-un. But what Trump has done may disappoint the likes of Alex Jones, that blue-collar, white demographic, those who are very much against immigrants, illegal or illegal. Alex Jones said that if Trump goes sideways, then he will speak out against President Trump. I doubt that he's going to do that, because obviously Trump has let him down many times before. But Alex Jones is very dishonest, deludes himself, so he gives Trump a pass on these things. Illegal immigration started to drop when Trump became president. And because of all his blood-curdling rhetoric on the issue, I suppose some people who were considering coming across the border unlawfully chose not to do so. However, when it was seen that Trump wasn't actually changing things, I don't think the US military had been dispatched to America's southern frontier, illegal immigration started creeping up. Now, that could have spelt doom to Trump's chances of re-election, because he presented illegal immigration as an existential threat to the United States. By the way, when the people set up Jamestown in 1607, was that with the permission of the local people? The Native Americans in Virginia, they had some sort of a government. That was illegal immigration. You didn't secure permission of the original people. 1620, the Pilgrim Fathers of Plymouth Rock, they did not gain the say-so of the indigenous people before landing and claiming land. Now, perhaps I'm being facetious, because we're not quite comparing like with like, as the US government has a clearly constituted government which controls the whole territory. But, many Americans do have illegal immigrant ancestors, which is not to say that illegal immigration should never be presented. But it would have seemed increasingly embarrassing for Trump if illegal immigration increased notably. Moreover, it's often forgotten that under President Obama, there was a huge number of removals of illegal immigrants. Now, some religious leaders still back Trump on this policy of separating children from parents. These clergymen don't seem to care about meek and gentle Jesus. What about the Israelites fleeing? Should they have been kept out? The Old Testament says to be good to the sojourner. Sojourner, that's a refugee or an asylum seeker. What else? How about when Jesus or the Holy Family fled to Egypt to escape the massacre of the Holy Innocents? Should they have been turned back? That would have been the end of Jesus. Suffer the little children to come unto me. That's what Jesus Christ said. But some of these clergymen don't understand that suffer in those days meant allow the little children to come to me. They just want it to be suffer the little children. They want the children to suffer. Well, Trump was given what they want. Anyway, so much for family values. Remember compassionate conservatism, George W. Bush's watchword? Well, no compassion there. They think that being merciless is the way forward. Where's the forgiveness? Where's the kindness? It's such rank hypocrisy. When it actually comes to helping the needy, they're not doing it. Surely everybody should be trying to reduce suffering in the world, not produce suffering. You could still have detention centres, but separating parents from children was probably unduly harsh. Who would Jesus lock up? What innocent people would he lock up? Innocent kids? That's what these religious leaders need to answer. But now Trump has ended this policy. Will more people cross the border illegally? Probably they will. But will more of them die? Maybe they will. And if those with children are going to be treated preferentially, that will lead to more children being brought. People won't leave their children behind. They'll borrow other people's children, frankly, buy them, kidnap them in a few cases. So it actually might lead to more child deaths. So I will acknowledge there might be some negative corollaries to Trump terminating this policy. So there were problems with Trump's policy. Apparently the system was overwhelmed, applications were not accepted, there were contradictory instructions. So I'm not sure if everything I heard was true. Now, the children, when they were detained, should have been kept in decent conditions. I saw claims on television that they weren't, but again, I'm unsure as to the veracity of such claims. People said they were kept in cages. Were they really cages? Or was it like a fence around their play area? It might have a fence roof as well, so that they couldn't climb out, people couldn't kidnap them. Do we want paedophiles to be able to get in there to abuse them? I don't think so. So they need to be in secure accommodation. So yeah, a lot of schools or gardens have metal fences. That doesn't mean they're in a cage. So let's stop using this emotive language. Calling them concentration camps, now that's not fair. People chose to go into this situation, crossing the border illegally in the United States. This was to keep them out of the US. Concentration camps, people were not allowed to leave their country. This is different. There was adequate food in these detention centers, housing, medical care, no forced work, no uniforms, no beatings. Not a single person died in these places, so far as I know. Concentration camps obviously very different. Now, I did hear stories of people having to sleep on the street before they could even get into detention centers, but they actually wanted to at least get into the United States to have their claims processed. So let's not resort to hyperbole. Loathsome though Trump is, calling him Hitler is irresponsible and childish. There's an excessive focus on illegal immigration in the United States. True, there are many more severe problems, like the lack of affordable medical care, like Medicare and Medicaid having most of their funding cut, like the massive budget deficit, like income inequality, like student debt, you name it, even the foreign wars, mass shootings. This is actually quite low down the list of problems, I would have thought. Obviously, one doesn't want this problem to get worse. So it's far from the gravest problem facing the United States, but it seems to exercise the minds of the blue collars who believe in the Make America Great agenda, Make America Great Again agenda. And it was a campaign promise of Trump's to be savage on this issue. So some people got what they voted for, but now he's let them down. Is he being tough by caving into media pressure? Well, he's a media host, which is why he's very sensitive to the press like that. So what's he going to do now? And he said he had to do this until Congress funds the wall. Well, there's mainly Republican Congress. They gave no indication they're going to fund the wall. Mexico's vowed never to pay a single peso for it. So it was Trump being limp-wristed as usual. So watch this space. What's going to happen next? Will he reintroduce this policy? I don't think so. But guessing his next move is a fool's errand.